Good morning, Dan and Amy. And as we've been talking all morning about parents and respecting parents when it comes to their children's education, when it comes to their children's health, that was in a COVID context, but there's another context, many other contexts, but an additional one is with respect to abortion. Illinois has a parental notification law that requires abortion vendors to notify a minor's legal guardian of the intention to abort 48 hours prior to the procedure. And there is an effort afoot, unsurprisingly, from the Democrat socialists who dominate the General Assembly in Illinois, as well as the constitutional offices, as well as the City of Chicago power structure, and as well as the suburban school boards and village boards and so forth, an effort afoot to repeal that law. And this has been attempted before, and enough Illinois families have risen up to put pressure on legislators to not to do what they're otherwise inclined to do. One wonders if that is still possible. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Bob Gilligan. He's the Executive Director of the Catholic Conference of Illinois. Bob, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. Hi, Dan. Hi, Amy.
So tell us sort of the state of play of this effort to repeal parental notification.
Well, I think you had a good intro, Dan. The Democrats in the state house, there's 73 of them. They need 60 to pass this bill, so we have to hold 13. The Senate, 41 Democrats. We have to hold way too many. It's very difficult in the Senate to hold this, so we'd have to hold over 11 of them. So the field of play is mostly in the House for us. We're really focused more on that than in the Senate. But, look, every lawmaker is important. So that's the field of play. Here we go into the veto session that begins next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then they'll come back the 26th, 27th, 28th of October. And what we're doing is trying to urge everybody who cares about parental rights, like you had indicated, to please call their state rep and their state senator to get engaged. I know everything is COVID today, right? And parents have to give their consent for a child to receive the COVID vaccine. If this bill passes, parents won't even have to be notified if their minor child is going for an abortion. What sense does that make? It makes no sense. And I think, most people realize this. We did a poll back in March, and 72% of Illinoisans support the law as it exists today. And it's funny because a lot of pro-choice voters do too. I think people have a knee-jerk reaction like, yeah, this is too far.
Well, yeah.
So, there's kind of a moderate caucus a little bit. Moderate's a relative term. I wouldn't necessarily describe these lawmakers as moderate, but they are starting to stand up to some of this. And this was one of the issues that they stood up to back in the spring. And so we got to continue urging them to make sure that this bill does not pass.
I mean, not only, with COVID, you have to sign them up. You have to go with your child to get the vaccination. So it's very hypocritical.
It is, and there's so many things about this. Look, we all know that, teens can be sometimes impulsive and do things. And the law, the heart of this issue is that the law should support a parent's right to know what's going on in their minor child's life. And I think people recognize that. The other side is doing what they're very good at. They're portraying all parents to be bad parents. There's kids in abusive situations is why we have to repeal this law. That's what they'll say. Look, we do recognize that there are parents that are not good parents. We agree with that. But that doesn't mean you repeal this law, because I think this is one of those issues where there's winners and there's losers. If this bill is passed, the losers are the good parents out there that want to know what's going on in their child's life. It really is one of those issues where I think on a common sense level, everybody gets it. So that's why we need people to be engaged and call and write their state senator and state reps now.
And the role that the church is going to play in this is Cardinal Cupich going to be able to take time out of his COVIDian duties to focus on trying to protect innocent life?
Yeah, Dan, what we did back in the spring is we divided up lawmakers, as I mentioned, those that we perceive to be open to this message, and many of them are. And we had bishops and pastors in the various districts calling the state reps, the state senators, and, here's where we're at. And look, lawmakers know where the Catholic Church is on this issue. And I think we've we've done that over and over again, and we need more people to call. And we'll continue to do what we're doing, but we need more people to get involved. And I think we're, like I said, we've made those calls, we've done it, they've heard from us, and so we need more people.
Do you think that the criticism that's leveled against the church, including by me, by the way, that they're not very good at power politics in Illinois, and that's what these Democrat socialists respond to, and that's the only thing they respond to if you're not a fellow traveler. So in other words, yes, that's the Catholic Church's position on life is clear, and Cardinal Cupich articulates it, but it doesn't seem to have the same priority, even though it should be the number one priority, the sanctity of life, as, say, I don't know, a $15 minimum wage that he's out stumping for, or other political issues. So, and the power politics criticism is, if you want to enjoy church support for your positions on immigration or labor economics, then you better be with us on things like this. Otherwise, we're not going to be with you on those other things.
Well, the church tries not to be "quote unquote" political in that way. We have, as you know, there's a full range of Catholic social teaching, and what we see, unfortunately, is the lawmakers picking and choosing which issues they prefer at their own discretion, and not taking the teachings of the church into proper consideration. So that's the challenge we have. We try to say those things, but they get manipulated when we get into the public sphere. It's very difficult these days. It's very challenging, and as we become more, partisan and a lot of these things, the church has a hard time articulating its message in this climate.
How has it been working with Republican lawmakers in Springfield?
What Republican lawmakers?
There's got to be some, Dan.
There are some, and on this issue per se, on the parental notification law, I don't think there's any Republican that will support it. So they've been good, and they're good to work with in general on the life issues. I'm hard pressed to think of one that is considered to be pro-choice. But I know, at least on parental notification, they'll be solid on this, and they'll speak up. And I think there's a couple real good arguments that they'll put forth if the bill goes to the floor.
Yeah,
but we don't want that to happen.
Another failure, though. So here's the failure on the Republican side. The Republicans are all very quietly pro-life, very quietly for parental notification until there's a fight that comes down, and then they have to step and fetch on behalf of their constituents in the relatively few Republican districts left. But I challenge you to find me a campaign mailer or ad in which a erstwhile conservative legislator includes their commitment to life as one of their key animating attributes as a legislator. I mean, there are probably some, mostly in Republican primaries, but in a general election, even the strongest conservative or pro-life voices, it's muted. And if you want to make if you want to make the argument, then you have to make it all the time, and you have to make it forcefully and thoughtfully and publicly. And it's funny, the left seems to understand that, and the pro-abort seem to understand that, and not too many pro-lifers seem to.
Well, I would agree with you there. And look, I think there is, in the campaigns that I've seen, and I know you've seen as well, they just avoid the issue. They either are not comfortable talking about it, or they don't know how to talk about it. And it's a challenge. I agree with you. When it comes to campaigns, you see ads over and over and over again on, all these left pro-choice arguments that are constantly hammering a Republican running for office. And there's no counter voice there. I would agree with you. They don't talk about it forcefully. They're not articulate. There's very few that can do it well, and it's a big problem. And that's what happens in campaigns, and that's why sometimes they lose. Not all the time, but sometimes that's what happens. I don't disagree with their inability to talk about it in an articulate manner.
So the last 19 months now has provided a wonderful opportunity for educational alternatives to the government school systems, including for Catholic schools. And I wonder what your perspective, the Catholic Conference's perspective, is on how successful the Catholic school system, both the Chicago Arch, but Catholic schools around the state, have been in capitalizing on this opportunity that's been presented as more parents are looking for other educational options for their kids?
Anecdotally, it's helped us. I see that our numbers are up this year. I wish they were up even more. I hear all the time about a frustration with the closures from last year, that kids were not in school. I can't tell you how many parents, even my own neighborhood, have looked at Catholic schools as an alternative. Many of them have decided to send their kids to Catholic schools. So it's been positive. I hope that momentum continues. I think that any objective analysis of what happened over the 19 months shows you that when the school system is that dedicated to its mission, and it's not only education. Sometimes Catholic schools, great private schools. These are Catholic schools first and foremost that are here to transmit the faith and our Catholic values. And I think people respect that, especially during the last 19 months. I think you've seen a lot of people say that, look, they made it under extraordinary hardships, and I can't say as many good things about the administrators, the principals, and the teachers that showed up every day. And people see that, and I think they want to be a part of that. That's attractive, and that's what our faith is about. We want to attract people to our mission. And I think we saw a good example of that over the last 19 months. This is what Catholic values are all about.
He is Robert Gilligan, the Executive Director of Catholic Conference of Illinois. And don't forget your Democrat state legislators in the House, contacting them to oppose repeal of parental notification. Bob, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Right now, people are home with their pet more often, and I think especially with the shedding, they're more cognizant of what's going on and that it's an